Oh, John, lucky you got that last-minute job. It's a fine holiday we'll have now with that money.
I won't argue with that, Mabel.
I don't doubt the Christmas of 1893 will be the loveliest the fair city of London will ever see.
Oh, my dear. I always said that I married you for your powers of exposition.
John Horner.
Huh?
Here, what's going on?
Inspector Bradstreet of Scotland Yard, ma'am. And this here's John Horner, plumbing contractor of 26 Excon Terrace, Stepney. Am I right?
What of it?
I'm arresting you for the Hotel Cosmopolitan robbery.
What? John?
I never done it. Honest, Mabe. I'm straight, you know that.
Bundle him into the back of the van, lads.
Oh, what am I to do? My erstwhile rogue of a husband taken from me just before this snowy festive period.
Don't labour the point, miss. I had called upon my friend Sherlock Holmes upon the second morning after Christmas with the intention of wishing him the compliments of the season before embarking upon my rounds. He was lounging upon the sofa in a purple dressing-gown, a pipe-rack within his reach upon the right, and a pile of identical small ivory boxes near at hand, evidently newly unwrapped.
What do you think to my haul, Watson?
Presents? For you, Holmes?
From some of the country's most prolific criminals. I only wish they had an original thought between them. Look but don't touch, I beg you.
Culverton Smith patented detective nobbler. Quite the job lot you have.
Yes, I really should get around to doing something about that chap. For the moment, though, I have a more engrossing task to occupy me.
You're engaged, then. Perhaps I interrupt you.
Not at all. I am glad to have a friend with whom I can discuss my thoughts. The matter is a perfectly trivial one, see?
What, on the tea stand over there?
Indeed.
Looks like a cock ring.
Quite so, but there are points in connection with it which are not entirely devoid of interest.
Oh, I suppose that, homely as it looks, this thing has some deadly story linked to it, or that it's the clue which will guide you in the solution of some mystery and the punishment of some crime.
No crime. Only one of those whimsical little incidents which will happen when you have 4 million human beings all jostling each other within the space of a few square miles. Many a little problem comes my way which may be striking and bizarre without being criminal.
As well I know. Of the last 3 cases which I've added to my notes, 2 have been entirely free of any legal crime.
Precisely. You allude to the singular case of the cardboard socks and to the adventure of the man with a twisted hip. Well, I have no doubt that this small matter will fall into that same innocent category. You know Patterson and Pogue, the commissionaires?
Of course.
It is to them that this trophy belongs.
It is their cock ring?
Not at all. They came to me with it on Christmas morning and with a most peculiar tale.
And?
I'm sorry, I was expecting a flashback. Well, Mrs. Hudson showed them up to my rooms at about 10 o'clock. There we go. Now then, what brings you two fellas here on such a morning?
Oh, Mr. Holmes, you'll never guess.
No, you never will.
It must be something of note to agitate 2 such stalwart commissionaires.
Well, we weren't always commissionaires, were we, Sand?
No, technically we're window dressers by trade and never a stalwart.
Trade's been a bit rough, though, lately, innit?
Yes, we'll take anything we can get, though, won't we?
Could you maybe get to the point?
Oh, ain't he harsh? Well, now, Mr. Holmes, we was returning from some small jollification last night.
Jollification, get her. It was a bone and knees up at the Queen's Head for all us, commissionaires.
You've never seen so many commissionaires with their knees up.
Anyway, we was trolling home when we hears this to-do up ahead. In the gaslight, we sees this bloke, none too steady on his lally's mind, carrying a dolly little rent boy on his shoulders.
Yes, and he's arguing with this knot of roughs.
Well, you know the kind of people we are, Mr. Holmes. We didn't hesitate to help him tackle the roughs, did we?
Sandy's very handy with her fists.
Yes, anyway, before we can reach him, this chap raises his stick to defend himself, swings it over his head and puts it right through the shop window behind him.
Clumsy old fool.
Well, the whole lot of them take shock at this. They see us two running up looking all official-like, and they do one.
Thought we was sharpies, they did. Scarpered. The bloke in one direction and the roughs in the other. Right down the labyrinth of small streets which lie at the back of the Tottenham Court Road.
But you see, that's not all, Mr. Holmes, because in his haste, the bloke's left behind 2 things.
And what, pray, are they?
A brass cock ring and this rent boy who'd fallen off his shoulders. Hiya.
Well, an interesting enough story, but I suspect there's more to it than that.
Quite so, Watson. I assured Patterson and Pogue that I would endeavour to return the ring to its owner. The other item was, however, looking a little gamey, so I left it in the safe hands of the commissionaires and recommended that they take it home so that it may fulfil the ultimate destiny of a rent boy.
Oh, dash generous.
However, it was not long before they were once more in my rooms. Oh, come on!
Mr. Holmes, you'll never guess.
What is it now?
The rent boy, sir, the rent boy.
Huh? What of it then? Has he had second thoughts and galloped off through the bedroom window?
No, sir, but see what Jules found rammed up its grinner.
Right up it was.
By Jove, Patterson, this is a treasure trove indeed. I suppose you know what you've got.
A dildo, sir. A precious dildo. It slides right in like a knife through butter.
It's more than a precious dildo, Patterson. It is the precious dildo.
Not the Countess of Morcar's Faberge minge prodder.
Precisely so, Watson. Behold! Though I ought to know its size and shape, seeing that I have read about it in the Times every day lately. It is absolutely unique, and its value can only be conjectured, but the reward offered of £1,000 is certainly not within a 20th part of the market price.
£1,000?
That is the reward, and when I told Patterson and Pogue, they spent a good 10 minutes swooning. Yet I have reason to know that there are sentimental considerations in the background which would induce the Countess to part with half her fortune if she could but recover the thing.
Oh, it was lost, if I remember right, at the Hotel Cosmopolitan.
Precisely so. On December the 22nd, just 5 days ago, it was purloined from the lady's jewel case.
Well, is that what she calls her?
No, her actual jewel case. I have some account of the matter here, I believe. Here you are.
Hotel Cosmopolitan jewel robbery. John Horner, 26, plumber, was brought up on a charge of having, upon the 22nd, abstracted from the jewel case of the Countess of Morcar a valuable quim tickler by Carl Faberge. James Duffin, upper attendant at the hotel, gave his evidence to the effect that he had shown Horner up to the dressing room of the Countess on the day of the robbery in order that he might solder the second bar of the grate which was loose. He had remained with Duffin some little time, but had finally been called away. On returning, he found that Horner had disappeared. It was later discovered that the aforementioned gash pleaser was missing from the lady's dressing table. Duffin instantly gave the alarm, and Horner was arrested the same evening in a pre-title sequence. But the foo-foo filler could not be found either upon his person or in his rooms. Catherine Cusack, maid to the Countess, deposed on having heard Duffin's cry of dismay on discovering the robbery, and having rushed into the room where she found matters as described by the last witness. Oh, it's a sorry tale, right enough.
Question for me has been to solve the sequence of events leading from a rifled jewel case at one end to the brown eye of a rent boy in Tottenham Court Road at the other. We have the dildo came from the rent boy, and the rent boy came from Mr. Henry Baker.
So, what have you done to this end?
See for yourself. Here you are.
Why am I getting all the newspaper bits?
Because Conan Doyle wrote bugger all for you in this one.
Ah, fair enough. Right now, found at the corner of Goodge Street, a rent boy in a brass cock ring. Mr. Henry Baker can have the same by applying at 6:30 this evening at 221B Baker Street.
That has been posted in today's Globe, Star, Pall Mall Gazette, Evening News Standard and Titbits.
Well, this is clear and concise, but will he see it?
Well, he's sure to keep an eye on the papers since the loss was a heavy one. Brass cock rings are not 10 a penny, and he must have bitterly regretted the impulse which caused him to drop his prostitute.
Oh, I suppose.
Now then, Watson, I have much to arrange. Can I tempt you back this evening to see what our notice ensnares?
Oh, just try keeping me away.
Excellent. Shall we say 6 o'clock then? Ah, Watson, you're a little early.
Oh, I didn't want to miss a thing. What have you been up to in my absence?
Contemplating Mr. Henry Baker along with our prize here.
A rare and beautiful object, to be sure.
It is a bonny thing. Just see how it glints and sparkles. Of course, it is a nucleus and focus of crime. Every good dildo is. There have been 2 murders, a suicide, a vitriol throwing, and 2 name-callings, and a hissy slapfest, all for the sake of this bejewelled clunge-nudger.
Who would think that so pretty a toy would be a purveyor to the gallows and the prison, eh?
I'll lock it up now and drop a line to the Countess to say that we have it.
Do you think the man Horner is guilty?
I cannot tell.
Well then, do you imagine that this other man, Henry Baker, had anything to do with the matter?
That I shall determine by a very simple test, if we have an answer to our advertisement.
And you can do nothing until then?
We can exercise our minds, Watson, and see how much we can find out from his possession.
The cock ring, you mean?
Precisely. Here it is. You know my methods. What can you deduce?
Let's see now. Well, I'd say he was a fastidious man. The ring is highly polished, obviously well cared for. It's an odd colour for brass. Foreign, maybe? Oh, there's writing. Indian. Maybe our chap was in the military. There are notches on it, small scratches parallel. Oh, I remember, pawnbroker's marks. He's had to repeatedly pawn it, so he's regularly in and out of funds.
Ha! Excellent, Watson, excellent. You really are coming along splendidly, yet I'm afraid you still miss the obvious.
Oh, yes? And what's that?
This cock ring's over 2 inches across. The man must be hung like a fucking horse. I'll be surprised if he can bloody walk.
Okay.
Anyway, I hear a foot on the stairs. We shall soon find out. Enter!
I've come in answer to this notice, sirs.
Mr. Henry Baker, I believe? Pray take this chair by the fire, Mr. Baker. It is cold tonight, and I observe that your balance is more adapted for summer than for winter.
Thank you kindly.
Is that your cock ring, Mr. Baker?
Yes, sir, that is undoubtedly mine. It's a comfort to me not being as young as I once was.
We've retained it for some days because we expected to see an advertisement from you giving your address. I'm at a loss to know why you did not advertise.
Shillings have not been so plentiful with me as they once were. I had no doubt that the gang of roughs who assaulted me had carried off both my ring and the man-whore. I did not care to spend more money in a hopeless attempt at recovering them.
By the way, about the Richard, we were compelled to kill it.
To kill it?
Yes, it would have been no use to anybody had we not done so. But I presume this other one upon the sideboard, which is about the same weight and perfectly fresh, will answer your purpose equally well.
Hiya.
Oh, certainly.
Of course, we still have the clothes, shoes, arse, and so on of your own purchase, so if you wish.
Oh, they might be useful to me as relics of my adventure, but beyond that I can hardly see what use they are going to be to me. No, sir, I think that with your permission I will confine my attentions to the excellent hooker which I perceive upon the sideboard.
There is your cock ring, then, and there your rent boy. By the way, would it bore you to tell me where you got the other one from? I am somewhat of a bum fancier, and I've seldom seen a better grown arsemonger.
Oh, certainly, sir. There are a few of us who frequent the Alpha Inn near the museum. This year our good hostess, Costa by name, instituted a cock club, by which, on consideration of some few pence every week, we were each to receive a prostitute at Christmas. My pence were duly paid, and the rest is familiar to you. I'm much indebted to you, sir. Good night and a Merry Christmas.
So much for Mr. Henry Baker. It is quite certain that he knows nothing whatsoever about the matter. Are you hungry, Watson?
Not particularly.
Then I suggest we turn our dinner into a supper and follow up this clue while it is still hot.
By all means.
There you go, sir. 2 pints of ale.
Your beer should be excellent if it is as good as your prostitutes.
My prostitutes?
Yes, I was speaking only half an hour ago to Mr. Henry Baker, who was a member of your cock club.
Oh, yes, I see. But you see, sir, them's not our cocks.
Indeed. Whose then?
Well, I got the 2 dozen from my good friend Sally McLeish, who has the Duke of Wessex over in Lambeth.
Ha! Then our trail continues.
Dash it all, Holmes.
Never mind, Watson. Sup up and I'll hail as a cab to Lambeth.
Oh, there you are, my fine gents. 2 pints of my best porter.
Ah, your porter should be superb if it is as good as your rent boys.
My rent boys.
Yes, we were speaking only 40 minutes ago to Mrs. Costa of the Alpha Inn, to whom you supplied over a score.
Oh, right. But you see, sir, them weren't my cocks. Lord, no.
Indeed? Whose were they, pray?
Well, I got the load from Mary O'Reilly, chief barmaid at 7 Bells, Clerkenwell.
Righty-ho. Down the hatch, Watson. The game's afoot.
Oh, Jesus. I say, Holmes, do we really have to spend the evening tearing round taverns? I'm beginning to feel quite lightheaded.
Buck up, Watson. We're getting closer to our goal with every minute.
If you say so.
Besides, there are hardly any female parts in this, and Lisa needs something to do.
Oh, begolly, they weren't my Richards. Mais no, they were not my cocks. Nine, they were not my bum boys. Hurdy, 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 hurdy. Hurdy, ho, no, ho, ho, no, hurdy, hurdy, hurdy.
Oh, Jesus, my head. Why, oh, Holmes!
What? Oh, Christ and a bag, Watson, I feel rough.
Oh, you feel rough.
It's worse than the time I stayed up for 3 days and did all that coke. Oh, hell of a come down.
Oh, I forget. Did we find out what we wanted?
Hold on. Yes, I raised on my arm. Carhill of Covent Garden is our supply.
Oh, I suppose we should get to the market without delay.
No, another hour's kip, then some coffee. Mrs. Hudson! Oh, Christ. Mrs. Hudson, coffee and eggs, please.
Oh, God, don't mention eggs.
Good evening. It's a cold day.
That it is, sir.
Sold out of rent boys, I see.
Let you have 500 tomorrow morning.
That's no good.
Well, there are some on the stall with a gas flare.
But I was recommended to you.
Who by?
Who was it in the end, Watson?
Oh, Mrs. Katanga Olimbueo of the Cat and Trumpet, Dawson Street.
Oh, yes. I sent her a few score.
Fine cocks there were too. Now, where did you get them from?
Now then, mister, what are you driving at? Let's have it straight now.
It is straight enough. I should like to know who sold you the riches which you supplied to Mrs. Olimbueo.
Well, then I shan't tell you, so there now.
Oh, it is a matter of no importance, but I don't know why you should be so warm over such a trifle.
Eh?
Oh, he means why are you being such a dick about it?
Ugh, you'd be a bloody dick if you were as pestered as I am. When I pay good money for a good article, there should be an end of the business. But it's, where are the prozzers? And who did you sell the man-whores to? And what will you take for the bum vendors? One would think that they were the only cocks in the world to hear the fuss that's made over 'em.
Well, I've no connections with any other people who've been making inquiries. If you won't tell us, the bet is off, that is all. But I'm always ready to back my opinion on a matter of prostitutes, and I have a fiver on it that the Richard donor I ate was country bred.
Well, then you've lost your fiver, for it's town bred.
It's nothing of the kind.
I say it is.
I don't believe it.
Do you think you know more about male tarts than I, who have handled them ever since I was a nipper? I tell you, all those cocks that went to the Cat and Trumpet were town bred.
You'll never persuade me to believe that.
Will you bet then?
It's merely taking your money, for I know that I am right, but I'll have a sovereign on it with you, just to teach you not to be an arsehead.
Look then, here in the ledger.
Says, here's your damn sovereign.
Pleasure doing business with you.
Oh, I say, Holmes.
When you see a man with whiskers of that cut and the pink un protruding out of his pocket, you can always draw him by a bet.
Pinken?
No idea. Suffice it to say, I know that our prozzies came from Mrs. Cockcroft of the Brixton Road.
Cost you a pretty sovereign, though.
Not at all, my dear chap. I lifted the fucker's wallet. Well now, I fancy we're nearing the end of our quest, and the only point which remains to be determined is whether we should go on to this Mrs. Cockcroft's today. It is clear from what that surly fellow said that there are others besides ourselves who are anxious about this matter, and I should...
I've had enough of you and your bloody man-whores. If you come pestering me any more with your silly talk, I'll set the dog at you. You bring Mrs. Cockcroft here and I'll answer her. But what have you to do with it? Did I buy the prozzers off you? No, but one of them was mine all the same. Well then ask Mrs. Cockcroft for it. She told me to ask you. Well, you can ask the King of fucking Prussia for all I care. I've had enough of it. Getcha!
This may serve as a visit to the Brixton Road. Come with me and we'll see what is to be made of this fellow. I say there.
Who are you then? What do you want?
You will excuse me, but I could not help overhearing the question which you put to the salesman just now. I think that I could be of assistance to you.
You? Who are you? How could you know anything of the matter?
My name is Sherlock Holmes. It is my business to know what other people don't.
Don't you ever get tired of saying that?
Not for 1 second.
But you can know nothing of this.
Excuse me, I know everything of it. You are endeavouring to trace some rent boys which were sold by Mrs. Cockcroft of Brixton Road to a salesman named Carhill, by him in turn to Mrs. Olimbueo of the Cat and Trumpet, and eventually, for sake of expedience, to Mrs. Costa of the Alpha, and by her to Mr. Henry Baker, a large, donged, fully paid-up member of the Cock Club.
Oh, sir, you're the very man whom I have longed to meet. I can hardly explain to you how interested I am in this matter.
In that case, we had better discuss it in a cosy room than in this windswept marketplace. Cabby, pray tell me, before we go farther, who is it that I have the pleasure of assisting?
My name is Lee McIlwain.
No, the real name. It is always awkward doing business with an alias.
Oh, well then my real name is James Duffin.
The attendant of the Hotel Cosmopolitan.
Precisely so, Watson. Pray step into the cab, Mr. Duffin, and I shall soon be able to tell you everything which you would wish to know. Here we are. The fire looks very seasonable in this weather. You look cold, Mr. Duffin. Pray take the basket chair and we'll see if we can settle this little matter of yours. Now then, you want to know what became of those rent boys?
Yes, sir.
Or rather, I fancy, of one particular rent boy. Slight, blonde, with a cheeky grin.
Oh, sir, can you tell me where it went to?
It came here.
Here?
Yes, and a most remarkable cock it proved. I don't wonder that you should take an interest in it. It laid an egg, the bonniest, brightest, bejewelled egg that ever was seen. I have it here in my museum.
Ah, but...
The game's up, Duffin. Hold on, man, or you'll be into the fire. Give him an arm back into his chair, Watson. He's not got the blood enough to go in for a felony with impunity. Give him a dash of brandy.
Here, take the glass, man.
Oh, thank you.
I have almost every link in my hands and all the proofs which I could possibly need, so there's little which you need to tell me. Still, that little may as well be cleared up to make the case complete. You'd heard, Duffin, of this rare fluppence agitator of the Countess of Morcar.
Yeah, it was Catherine Cusack who told me of it.
I see, her ladyship's waiting maid.
She promised all manner of rudeness for me were I to get it.
Well, the temptation of rudeness and sudden wealth so easily acquired was too much for you. It seemed to me, Duffin, that there is the making of a very pretty villain in you. You knew that this man Horner, the plumber, had been concerned in some such matter before, and that suspicion would rest the more readily upon him. What did you do then?
I dashed well know what he did. He made up some small job in the ladies' room and managed that the poor man Horner should be sent for. Then when he'd left, you rifled the jewel case, raised the alarm, and had this unfortunate man arrested.
Oh, for God's sake, have mercy. Think of my father, of my mother, of their fathers and mothers. It would break their hearts, of all, 6 of them. I never went wrong before. I never will again. I swear it. I'll swear it on a Bible. Oh, don't bring it into court, for Christ's sake, don't.
Get back into your chair. It is very well to cringe and crawl now, but you thought little enough of this poor Horner in the dock for a crime of which he knew nothing.
I will fly, Mr. Holmes. I will leave the country, sir. Then the charge against him will break down.
Ah, we'll talk about that. And now let us hear a true account of the next act. How came the frou-frou plunger into the Richard, and how came the Richard into the open market? Tell us the truth, for there lies your only hope of safety.
I will tell you it just as it happened, sir. When Horner had been arrested, I scalpered, for I did not know at what moment the police might not take it into their heads to search me and my room. I went out, as if on some commission, and I made for my sister's house. She had married a man named Cockcroft and lived in Brixton Road, where she fattened rent boys for the market.
Hold on.
What is it?
There may be a flashback left, that's all. Ah, sweet.
Here, James, what's going into you? You look white as a sheet.
Well, there's been a robbery, Mags, at the hotel. I'm a bit shaken up.
Come out into the yard and smoke a pipe, John. Get your breath back.
I had a friend once called Maudsley who went to the bad, and I made up my mind to go to Kilburn where he lived and take him into my confidence. He would show me how to turn the fanny hammer into money, but how to get to him in safety. I might at any moment be seized and searched, and there would be the twat truncheon in my waistcoat pocket. I was leaning against the wall at the time and looking at the rent boys which were waddling about the yard, and I suddenly had an idea come into my head which showed me how I could beat the best detective that ever lived. My sister had told me some weeks before that I might have the pick of her bum vendors for a Christmas present, and I knew that she was always as good as her word. I would take my cock now, and in it I would carry my prize to Kilburn. Hey, you there.
Hiya.
Come here.
Alright.
Whatever were you doing with that cock, Jem?
Well, you said you'd give me one for Christmas, and I was feeling which was the fattest.
Oh, we've got yours set aside. Jem's dick donor, we've called it. It's a big black one over yonder. There's 26 of them, which makes one for you, one for us, and 2 dozen for the market.
Thank you, Maggie, but if it's all the same to you, I'd rather have that one I was handling just now.
The other one's a good 3 inches longer, and we fattened it expressly for you.
Never mind, I'll have the other and I'll take it now.
Oh, just as you like. Which is it you want, then?
The slight blonde one with the cheeky grin right in the middle.
Oh, very well. Put it to sleep with this bottle of deliciously smooth ginger ale and take it with you.
Well, I did what she said, Mr. Holmes, and I carried the cock all the way to Kilburn. I told my pal what I had done and he laughed, but when we looked there was no dildo, and I knew that some terrible mistake had occurred.
Where are they all, Maggie? Where's the prozzers?
Gone to the dealers, Jem.
Which dealers?
Carhill's of Covent Garden.
But was there another slight blonde cock with a cheeky grin, the same as the one I chose?
Yes, Jem. There were two cheeky grinned ones, and I could never tell them apart.
Well, then, of course I saw it all, and I ran off as hard as my feet would carry me to this man Carhill. But he had sold the lot at once, and not one word would he tell me as to where they'd gone. My sister thinks that I'm going mad, and now I am myself a branded thief, without ever having touched the wealth for which I sold my character. God help me! God help me!
Get out!
What, sir? Oh, heaven bless you.
No more words, get out!
He's that ethical old chap.
If Horner were in danger, it would be another thing, but this fellow will not appear against him, and the case must collapse.
But the crime!
The Countess will have her vag pleasure back, the commissionaires their reward, and we have had the pleasure of solving the most singular and whimsical problem.
Well, I suppose it is the season of forgiveness after all.
Quite so, Watson, quite so. I shall ring for Mrs. Hudson, and shortly we shall begin a new investigation into a sumptuous cold collation.
And perhaps a bottle or two of sherry?
Why not? Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Holmes.
I say, Watson,
Huh?
I lose track. Are you married at this point or not?
Oh, Jesus shit. Mary'll have my balls on a skewer.
John!
Oh, Mabel. Oh, to see you again.
I should never have doubted you.
I said when we married I'd quit thieving for good, my love.
Oh, John.
Excuse me?
What?
John Horner, I'm arresting you for the violent murders of 15 street urchins over a 5-month period in Camberwell.
Oh, yeah, I did do that.